Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I have Ulrika Karlsson here today, all the way from Sweden. And it's like 7:30 in the morning for her, and it's 1:30 in the afternoon for me. And she's an author and a yoga therapist and a spiritual teacher. And she is going to share a little more about herself. And also, she's going to share her healing story with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. And just it's 7:30 in the evening here.
Oh, in the
So
evening. Yeah,
uh,
that's right, because you're always ahead of us.
but it feels good to be here. It's really nice and warm here in Sweden now. So I'm sitting here with you in my mobile home because it's the coolest place I could find.
Yeah, so right now, for people listening, it's 86 degrees, which is very warm for Sweden. Very, very warm. So,
It's very warm, especially in the evening. So yep, here I am.
yeah, and you probably don't have air condition, or a lot of people don't have air condition, correct?
We do. It's just that it's quite expensive when you're having the air condition on, so we just open the windows. It works as well.
Yeah, yeah. It probably cools off at night there. So even if it's warm during the day, here in Charleston, South Carolina, it's warm day and night. So no one's opening their windows at night.
I see.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background and what is a yoga therapist and what is your book about and what do you teach spiritually? So tell us more about yourself.
Thank you. There was a lot of question in one question, so maybe you have to repeat them if I miss something.
Uh-huh.
So yes, I'm born and raised here in Stockholm, which is the capital of Sweden, and I'm 51 years old. I'm a single mom with two teenagers. In the year of 2008, I was I was at rock bottom, and I had gotten there, over time, and I didn't even know that it was rock bottom. I thought that life was supposed to be like that, but I was depressed, and I was having a lot of panic attacks. I had sleeping disorders, and I was suicidal. So at the time, my children were like um, 3 and 5 years old, around that, and there was so many things that happened at the same time. And like now, when I look back in the mirror, it's all like a blur. But it started that I've always had really high inner expectations of myself, high inner demands, and I am an intuitive empath. But at the time when I was a child, obviously I didn't know that I was intuitive or that I was very empathetic. So I felt so much all the time, like 24/7, and everything was enhanced all the time. And here in Sweden, our culture is that we are really suppressing our emotions, and we also have something called jantelagen, which is a very old unwritten law, but it's like in our DNA, that who do you think you are? You're nothing special. You must be like conform or adapt like anybody else. And so the people with this mindset, we stayed in Sweden, but the people that didn't approve of this mindset, they left to the United States. So I know that. So
Oh,
the,
great. So all the people that think they're important moved here.
no, the people that didn't want to be conform, or the people that wanted more out of life, they left Sweden,
Yeah.
like hundreds of years ago. So they moved
Mhm.
to the United States, to the land of glory over there. Anyway, so when I was a kid, I was very sensitive, and I felt everything really deeply, and I learned at a very young age to suppress myself, to suppress my emotions, my expressions. And I learned to be the good girl that was validated, by her results in school, or how she was, if she was pretty enough, if she was, yeah, the good girl, the productive, the good girl that was really competitive and with a lot of comparison. So I was never able, to fully express how I felt, or my needs. So over time, with all these suppressed emotions and also a lot of trauma and unresolved stress, I developed sleeping disorders. And I had sleeping disorders as a young teenager, and then I sort of adapted to those sleeping disorders as well. And the less I slept, the more I did. So eventually I was sleeping, over the centuries, because it started like I had really difficult to relax when I was about to fall asleep. And then I adapted to that. And then a couple of years I was living like that. And then I started to wake up in the nights, and I adapted to that. And then I started to wake up and never go back to sleep. And eventually my sleep got so poor, so I only slept 15 minutes per night. So every night for many, many years, I woke up at 2:47 a.m. after only 15 minutes of sleep. And I woke up every night with these horrible nightmares that I was being slaughtered and murdered and tortured every night. So I wake up with my heart pounding and this stale taste of blood in my mouth, and I'm, all sweaty, and I don't know where I am. I'm really disorientated. And I still have these visions of myself being murdered on my retina. So, and then I just take a look at the alarm clock next to me, and I see that it's 2:47 a.m. And then I realize that I've only slept like 15 minutes. So here's my first book. It's called 2:47 a.m., The Journey Home to My Heart. And I was on a Swedish national television and talking about sleep. And then a lot of people connected with me, and they said, so where's your book? Where's your story? It really resonated with me and with us, so we want to read it. So I had to start writing. And I'm in this book, I'm sharing really, really, raw and vulnerable moments of my sort of burnt out state, and when I was being suicidal. And of course, it didn't start like this. So as I said, it started, with one thing, and then it led to another. And then at the end, I was so depleted and so depressed. I had so much self-hatred. So every time that I looked myself in the mirror, I was, my eyes were all dead. There was like nobody at home. And even though that I had 2 children, I just wanted to die. So a turning point for me was when I never told anybody how depleted I was. I never told anybody that I was, depressed and suicidal, and that I was standing with my pills for depression, pills for anxiety attack, pills for sleeping disorders. I had so much pills and medications in my cupboard in the bathroom. So I was standing with my pills every morning, thinking like, is this the day that I'm going to end this? Because I can't stand another day and another night when I'm being murdered. And so I was lying next to my husband at the time, and he never knew that I was being murdered next to him, because I never told him. I only said that I was really tired, because at the time I was so depleted, and I only slept 15 minutes per night. So my whole nervous system was so affected. So I was like a junkie. I was so sensitive to lights and to sound. So it's like, like jerking and moving all the time. Like my nervous system was on fire 24/7. So I'm just telling him that I'm really, really tired, and that I need to sort of withdraw, for a couple of days. And at the time, my youngest, my baby girl, she's just, a couple of months because I'm still breastfeeding her. But so I leave and I go out here to the Swedish archipelago where I'm now. And I come here, it's the winter time, and I have this really weird feeling in my chest. I know now that it's a panic attack, but at the time I didn't know what it was. So I could feel something moving within me, and I said to myself, well, I'm going to take, a walk and burning off some calories, because at the time I also had eating disorders. So I was going to take a quick walk to burn off some calories, because I knew that usually helped me with this uncomfortable feeling that I felt. But this time it was sort of different. It was feeling almost like some kind of volcano that was about to erupt. And I was terrified. I didn't know what it was. And I felt so scared. So I walked so fast in the winter. It's daytime and the sun is shining and the snowflakes are falling down, like these little balls that you're shaking. So it's a beautiful day. And I'm all by myself in the wood. And all of a sudden, I just feel a massive pain in my heart, like a dagger, knife straight into my heart. And I feel that I'm going to have a heart attack. So intuitively, I put my hands on my chest, trying to suppress the pain or hold on to the pain, because it feels like I'm going to be scattered into a million pieces. The pain is so massive. And I just remember a quick thought passing through my mind, like, oh my gosh, like the snow is coming up to hit my face. But it's me who I'm falling down into the snow, and I'm curling up in fetus position, trying to hold onto my heart. And I'm terrified because I feel that I'm going to die, and nobody knows that I'm there. And I didn't even get to say goodbye to my children. So I'm lying there, and I can hear this sort of a snap, and I feel something move within me, and I'm absolutely terrified. And then all of a sudden I hear, like some screams. It's like an animal that is dying. And, if possible, I get even more terrifying. I'm lying there, fetus position, holding onto my heart. I hear these howling, growling noises. And I realize it's me. It's something deep within me. And it scares the shit out of me, because I don't know what it is and where it comes from. And I don't even recognize my own voice. And then I hear another snap. And then it's like, opening a flood. So I'm just lying there, and there's so much tears, and I'm crying and sobbing, and my body is moving and twisting there in the snow. And so this goes on for hours, and I lose track of time and space. And eventually I can hear my own sobs sort of fading out, and the grunts and the noises also fade out. And I come back to my senses and realize that it's pitch black. It gets really black here, really dark here in Sweden at 3:00 in the wintertime. But I must have been there in the snow for like 3-4 hours. And when I came back to my senses, it was all my senses were enhanced. Like I could hear the snowflakes falling, and I could see, different shapes and forms, even in the pitch black forest. And for the first time in my life, I could feel something that I describe as a stillness in expansion. And my mind was all still. There was not a thought in my head, which I was very unused to. So this was like a huge turning point for me when I'm looking back, sitting here talking to you now. So I know that this was a big turning point. But from there on, there was a lot of work to do for me to heal.
Wow. So do you feel like that that feeling in your heart, it was just you couldn't hold it in anymore, like, you couldn't hold in your feelings anymore and your stresses, and that they had to come out somehow?
Exactly. That's exactly what's happened. I didn't know it at the time. I thought I was gonna, die or going crazy or, just to explode. But I know now that everything that we suppress, everything that we don't express is stored deep
Mhm,
within our bodies. It's stored in our subconscious or unconscious mind, and our unconscious and subconscious mind is stored within the body, within our organs, our cells, our DNA. So every, trauma that we all have been through, big traumas, small traumas, every stress, every feeling and emotions that haven't been witnessed, observed, expressed is stored within the body. So I didn't know that at the time. I truly thought that I was going to go crazy. And I remember the pain of lying there in the snow, and obviously, this was a very, very short narrative of my story because it lasted for like, I started to dislike myself when I was 3 years old. And I had feelings and thoughts about myself that I was fat, which I was not, that I wasn't good enough, that I had to earn love, that everything that I felt needed to be suppressed. So I was, my whole teenage time, I felt like I was always playing parts like the pretty one or the clever one or the funny one, the joker or anything. But all the time I felt, how do you say, alienated and
mhm.
isolated. I felt like I was, some kind of UFO or alien, and I never felt at home in me, in my body here on planet Earth. And as I said already, that I'm an intuitive empath, and when I was young, I could feel, my parents, I could feel everybody, and I didn't know that, but it was like I was this huge antenna just absorbing everything in, and small traumas and also big traumas that I have experienced was never, expressed or moved. Because as you hear from the word emotion, emotion is energy in motion, which means that energy needs to move, needs to be in motion. But we in the Western societies, we are so not used to show our strong emotions. And here in Sweden, you're not supposed to be too happy or too sad or too angry or too horny or whatever. You're just supposed to be a bit happy, a bit horny, a bit sad or whatever. So each and one of us in the world today are, this is also what I teach today, because everything that we see out there, everything in this craziness that is going on in the world today with the wars and the pandemic and everything that is going on, it's just a mirror. The outer collective consciousness is just a mirror of the individual consciousness. So each and one of us that are, are having these traumas or unresolved emotions and feelings stored within our bodies, we are transmitting it out into the outer collective. So we are contributing to this
Mhm.
bloody mess.
So at 3 years old, that's really young to feel those negative feelings about yourself. Do you think that you were picking that up from the people around you or family members and it wasn't coming from you?
Yes, of course, of course. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's not so easy to know that when you're 3, but I was pinching my stomach. I was, holding onto my cheek. I always suppressed my own breathing. And my mom, she has had eating disorders, which she doesn't own in the terms that she can't acknowledge it and she
Mhm.
can't express it. But I know that she had it because she was always talking about her weight and, oh, I've gained half a kilo, so now I must lose weight. So yes, it's all about heritage and also the culture that you grow up into. So even though that you and I are both women from Western societies, you have your cultural and their limitations and belief systems with you, and I have mine, as we all have our own.
Mm-hmm.
But also as a yogi, because when I was really, really, really depressed and sick, yoga found me. I wasn't searching, but yoga found me. And it's this, saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. So in my case, I found yoga, and I've been studying yoga and holistic disciplines for more than 28 years. So I know now that what I have been experienced, what I've just shared, is also the aim of yoga. Like, the yoga means union, to connect with all the parts that are you, the whole spectrum that is you, all the polarities, dark, light, yin, yang, everything that you are, to connect. So that's the purpose of yoga. The purpose of yoga is not to be flexible or to make cool asanas, but the purpose of yoga is merely to transform your inner wounds, your traumas, your inner darkness, and get access to a high state of consciousness. Because the more of the traumas and the accumulated stress and unresolved emotions that you transform from the body, which is stored within the body, which means that you need to use the body to free yourself from all of these programs, the more of the darkness you can witness and transform, the more access you have to your inner lights and to high states of consciousness.
Yeah, I've been practicing yoga on and off for a long time too, and I find it a good way to be very present, to clear the mind, because you're too busy thinking about your pose or how your body, you know what I mean? You have how your body's moving, or you're in alignment, so you're not really thinking about anything but what your movement. And so that's what I love about yoga. So the nightmares that you were having, do you think that came from people around you or family members, or what was
Yeah,
the source of that?
I think both. I think it came from my surroundings and from, my family, but I also think that it was my soul, because my soul had been for decades trying to tell me, like, this is not good for you, or you should not do this. So it's not like I hadn't had information. It was just that I was so occupied being in my headspace, and I didn't understand the signals, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know what to make of them, or how to change, because I was so programmed to be this good girl, pretty girl. I'm a big sister, responsible, being over responsible, and things like this. So I think that our souls are communicating with us 24/7, but we are not just listening. In the Western societies, we are so busy making money, or going into the next project, or renovate the kitchen, or to too distracted with how we look or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't pay attention. And the word breath in Swedish is andetag, and that literally means to connect with the spirit. So most of us are not connected with the spirit because our breaths are so poor. We have a
Mm-hmm.
very limited breathing here in Western societies. So we're not connected. We're not connected to who we are. We're not connected to spirit. We're not connected to our souls. And that's why we have these kind of symptoms in Western societies that you don't see so much in traditional Eastern societies. We have cancer, we have burnout, we have depression, we have sleeping disorders, and they are all stress related, one way or another.
Mm-hmm. because the less connected we are, the more problems we have.
Exactly. And it's like we are having, focus on the wrong things
Mhm,
and looking in the wrong places. Like we are looking always for outer acknowledgement or, improvement for higher. We also can hear it in our language, like we are moving up the career ladder. We want to have
mhm.
higher education. We want to, move forward. But we can't move forward when we have 95% of unconscious or subconscious programs that is running us.
Mhm.
Because even though that we want to move forward, we are still trapped in the unresolved business that we all have.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the Swedish culture was like that. I know Americans are terrible at that, and we have words like rat race, you know, and it just feels like everybody is trying to make more money, work more, get more money, get more cars, get bigger houses, or the other term is keeping up with the Joneses, which is like that imaginary Jones family next door. You're trying to keep up with them. What did they have? Did they have the latest golf cart? Did they build a new patio? It never ends.
I know. And these just also, when we are doing this and living these kind of lives, we are upholding and maintaining this very, I'm also writing about it in my books, very immature, very unconscious,
Mhm,
feminine, and masculine energies. And we, in our societies, we think it's good when somebody's, working 40 plus hours a week. We applaud them. We're saying that they're very, efficient or productive and that they're good. They're being appreciated at work. They get more money. But really, if I'm speaking from the yogic perspective, workaholics, they have a very unbalanced root chakra, meaning that
mhm.
they're very imbalanced. So it's just a strategy. It's just a strategy to trying to compensate with more money, with bigger breasts, newer car, new kitchen renovations. It's just one way to compensate for an unconscious imbalanced root chakra.
Yep, I totally
And
agree.
I see it also that all our behaviors and patterns that we have in the Western societies are trauma response. Trauma responses from this lifetime, from previous lifetimes. Because as a yogi, uh, I believe that energy never dies, and we are energetic beings in physical bodies. So energy never dies, which means that it just takes different shapes and forms. So this means that we have not only the traumas from this, the traumas and the stress from this lifetime, running in our bloods, in our veins, existing in our DNA. We also have traumas and unresolved stuff from previous lifetimes. And all our patterns and behaviors, I see it as like trauma responses, because we do this because basically all what we want to be is, we want to be loved, we want to be acknowledged, and we want to be seen, right? This is like the psyche of the human nature. We want to be loved, we want to be seen, and we want to belong, like with a group or the tribe. So we have developed all these strategies. We numb ourselves, we distract ourselves, and we are run by these 95% of unconscious programs, which are trauma responses. So that's why we are in the immature and the unconscious energies of the yin and yang, the feminine and the masculine.
Yeah.
And just for you who's listening, yin and yang are just energies, polarities, like day and night, and we all have them, whether you are in a female or in a male body. So we have been programmed with really low consciousness, And this is also my line of work and what I do, what I write about in my books. Like this book, for instance, Holy Fuck, Holy Fuck, and Sacred Water, the secret connections to everything. This book was mentioned as the book of the year by its readers. And here we are talking about all the way down on a micro perspective, on the cellular level, all the way down to macro perspective, out to the universe, and like how polluted we are, not only, with how we are eating or drinking, but we are so polluted with our own limited belief systems and these traumas, and they are stored deep within ourselves. So this book, Holy Fuck, she's also here to, reactivate the inner dormant light codes and to be the holy fuck of the feminine and the masculine, but in the conscious energies. And some of the unconscious energies, you who don't know what I'm talking about, I can just mention, like, for me, this is what I teach, this is what I write, this is what I live by, and this is what I've been studying, through my own journey, and also with 28 years of holistic disciplines. So, for instance, the immature feminine can be very clingy, holding on to things. For instance, holding on to my body image, like, I mustn't lose, I mustn't gain any weight, I must remain like this, or oh, my boobs are sagging, I need to, whatever, fix them. So when I'm clinging and when I'm holding on to things, whether it's money, like Gollum in Lord of the Rings, my precious, or if it's my emotions stored within the body, if it's my belief system, if it's whatever, this is a very unconscious feminine energy. And
Yeah,
this means
I've been thinking about that, the shadow side of the feminine, and some of the aspects of that would be jealousy and competitiveness. Because I find that in women, we tend to look at each other, and the shadow side sizes each other up, you know.
I totally agree. But for me personally, that is the immature masculine, the
Mm,
competitive. Yeah.
mhm,
So another aspect of the immature and unconscious feminine is manipulation. And just,
mhm,
look how the world and the media has been, the narrative that has been presented for the last 2 years, that is so much in the immature, unconscious, and undeveloped feminine energy and manipulation.
mhm,
And other energies for the immature, undeveloped, and unconscious masculine are, as you said, being very competitive, being very in comparison, but also this strive for more money, for a better body, for a higher education, for to always be the good girl, the good mom, the good wifey, whatever. That's the immature masculine. So if you see how our societies are, you can see these, polarities and these energies everywhere, from the individual level to the collective consciousness. And that's why the world is so fucked up today, because we are, our souls are not fucked up, but our behaviors, our
yeah.
programs, our limited belief systems are so fucked up and so programmed. And that's not who we are.
So let's go back to the trauma you were talking about that we're projecting, the trauma responses. Can you talk about that on the collective level? Just because I think just today I'm feeling the collective kind of exhaustion, especially the feminine is exhaustion in this country of recent events that you've probably heard, and a recent court ruling that affects our abilities to decide what to do with our bodies. So I think, I'm feeling that. So let's talk about that collective. Like, what can we do about, I guess the only thing we could do about the collective is work on ourselves. So we're not
Exactly.
contributing to it.
Exactly. Because it truly is, I can't do any change out there unless I change myself first.
Mhm.
And we are all transmitting all the time. We are receiving and transmitting energy. It's like we are all being radio stations all the time. And if I haven't healed my own conscious or unconscious wounds from this lifetime or previous lifetimes, then I am unconsciously transmitting it out into the ether, to the collective consciousness. So I am a part, we are all a part of what is going on today. We are all a part of this bloody mess
Mhm.
because we have, by our free will, given consent one way or the other, right? So we have given our free will away, our power away. We have given our energy away. And the way I see it is that this is this, huge awakening, huge ascension process that we are in, individual and collectively. And like the yogis, they've known about it for, thousands of years. It's in their scriptures that this is going to happen. And indigenous people have also been saying that this is going to happen. So the collective consciousness right now is based on fear and lack, right?
Mhm.
Lack of time, lack of trust, lack of energy, lack of money. You can have lack in so many ways. It doesn't have to be, it can be lack of love for yourself. It can be lack of trust in yourself, others, or the universe. Like I did. I didn't have a trust when I didn't trust anybody when I was depleted and depressed. I was in the illusion that I needed to, that I wasn't in control, that it was somebody else's fault, or that I was a victim or something like this. So it's so important that each and every one of us is doing our inner, shadow work, or healing our inner wounds and traumas, because, as you say, the way the collective is now is also, because here's the thing, we cannot change what we are not aware of, right?
Mhm.
If I'm totally unaware or unconscious of something, I can't change it. So it really needs to come in my face, like me when I was sick and depressed and suicidal. I there was no escape from it. There was no escape. I couldn't just sit there and go or I couldn't mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually bypass it, which many people do. They try to spiritual bypass
Mhm.
themselves. So when I hit the rock bottom, I just knew that either I'm going to take these pills and then I'm going to die, and then I am of no use to my small children, my babies. So I need to change. I need to change, not only for myself but for my kids. They are relying and depending upon me, and this is the opportunity that we are all having these times, that not only to look out what's going on out there and to project my own shit, my own fucked upness, because this is also what has been going on for these past 2 years. There's been people against people, like, you did that, you didn't do that, do what you're told. I don't want to do what I'm told. I want to do what resonates with me. Stand in line, take the fucking jab, and shut up. Uh, so these energies has been consciously programmed into us by some people. It's not more than that. Just follow the money, and because that's one of the basics, because money and greed have been ruling these worlds for thousands of years, and they are very immature and low consciousnesses.
Mhm.
So these energies collectively have also sort of made people go against each other. In my own family, it has been in family lines between, you know, mothers, fathers, their children, you know, friends, this gap, this separation, this divide, because it is such a, you know, a well-known tool for conquer and divide, right?
Mhm.
So when we are being kept in fear and when we have these lack perspectives, then up to one level we are easy to control, right? So this is a major opportunity to use the outer collective consciousness as a trampoline to move inwards. Like, what is my part of this? How am I treating myself? How am I treating others? Am I teaching yoga on the mat, but then I go out, you know, and tell people what to do, or being harsh, or thinking that somebody is an idiot? Well, that's not yoga, good folks. That's the illusion of yoga, because the challenge is to connect in the heart, in empathy and compassion for oneself, for others, in the midst of this separation. It's not like we're going to be separated and then we're just going to make up and everything is going to be just peachy and it's going to be peace in the world. No, it's in this gap, in this divide with each individual that needs to be healed. The feminine, the masculine needs to be healed, and they connect in the heart. So what we see now is, because it needs to come to the surface for each and one of us, and also in the collective consciousness, so we can see how many things that are fucked up. Because when we see things that are fucked up, whether it's me or, you know, the system or whatever, then we can change it. But until it's not in our conscious field, we can't even do anything about it.
Yeah. And there's so many levels of this, like
I
like,
know.
you know, I always felt like I'm just like you, very sensitive, always feeling everything, felt everything, didn't know it was coming from me, didn't know where it was coming from. You know, same thing. Then I did the good girl thing too, because I didn't want to get in trouble, you know,
Exactly.
because
You want to
my
be, yeah.
yeah, because my mother was very unstable. So I was like, well, if I do everything right, if I get straight A's, if I, you know, then she won't target me. She won't get angry at me. And she might get angry at my sister or my dad, but not me. So then, you know, there's that perfect thing coming in. But like,
Exactly. You want to be loved and seen and acknowledged.
but even with
Yeah.
COVID, like I consider myself a person that doesn't conform, and I see through a lot of bullshit just because I have a very good truth radar and I can tell when I'm being lied to because I physically feel uncomfortable in my body when it happens. So I recognize that feeling, but just COVID really like hit me, you know, it was like it took it even further. It was like, wow, you know, the government really is not, doesn't care about us. So we have to
No.
take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to stop believing that they have our highest good, or you know, that's like it's like the opposite. I mean, it's in your face if you look at the past couple of years about what's happening.
Yeah.
So I went through, like, I got COVID, and then I went through this dark night of the soul again. Like I've done it before. And then I went into the rabbit hole and I couldn't ignore what was in my face anymore. And I had to start looking, you know, and seeking and trying to understand what the truth is. But yeah, it comes in layers. But I always say, because I'm a Reiki master teacher and I help a lot of people with their healing, that the first step to healing is awareness. You need to be aware that there is a problem or where the problem is coming from in order to fix it and heal it.
Exactly. And it's like, I just want to add a couple of more things, like the words government, right? We know
Mhm.
govern means control, and ment is mind. So government, another word for government is literally mind control.
God.
Just take, I mean, it's, and also the word democracy originally stems from the word demon.
Oh God. Yeah.
I know, and I'm
Yeah.
writing about it in my newest book. My newest book was released less than a week ago, and it's called The Sacred Soul, A Divine Evolution Through Time and Space. Can I just share the back, the text of the back cover?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So this is like what we are talking about, coming to awareness and consciousness. Okay. The Sacred Soul, A Divine Evolution Through Time and Space. Congratulations for holding the Sacred Soul, A Divine Evolution Through Time and Space in your hands. You have unconsciously attracted her, and she has attracted you. Sacred Soul is divinely channeled from the Akashic records. For those of us who are ready to remember who we are at the soul level and why we have arrived at this planet. This book is about the downfall and the ascension of our sacred soul. She comes in these challenging times with a mission to inspire, aid, hold space, and perhaps even challenge you in your divine evolution and ascension process. We all have the opportunity to ascend from the dense third dimension to the sacredness of the fifth dimension and beyond. To do this, we need to clear out the old karmic programs and start to make new choices. The Sacred Soul gives you the awareness, tools, and insights to be who you are at the soul level. Much of the information of the Sacred Soul has been forgotten or buried beneath the layers and layers of unconscious and deep programming. Sacred Soul is here to reclaim your sacredness and to reactivate your inner dormant light codes. So buckle up, connect to your heart, and open your mind. Let the journey and the remembrance begin. So the way I see it is that these times that we are in are orchestrated by our souls for us to expand and evolve. Not like that we are having souls, but we are souls with physical bodies. Our souls resides within our bodies partially. So we can use all these fears and these lack perspectives that we find within ourselves and also in the collective consciousness as a trampoline to do the inner work and to dare to go there, as you say, into the rabbit hole, because there's also many who are so programmed and brainwashed, sadly enough, so they become angry when you say things like this.
Mhm.
It's called cognitive dissonance. Like
Mhm.
they're even defending the government, that totally don't give a fuck about them.
Mhm.
So this is what the indigenous people and like yogic have known for thousands of years, that these times will come and we will move back to our original state, which is higher states of consciousness than the ones that we have down here in the third dimension, which is called a matrix, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're here for a reason. And also, I believe the people who are here, the souls that are here, have the capabilities, have the experience to heal all of this. It seems overwhelming and it seems like an impossible task, but I don't think we're on this planet at this time if we didn't have the ability to do it.
I totally agree. And we all have a mission, we all have a purpose, and we all have a free choice. We can continue to give consent silently or unconsciously, or we can do something else. So this is the opportunity, because I'm also writing about it in the Sacred Soul book, that many of us are not used to listen to our souls, myself included. When I was depressed, we are more used to listen to our egos, to our big egos, and our egos is all about keeping us safe. Our egos is all about, it wants us to survive. So here we are, as the species of human, we have survived for thousands and thousands of years because we have this ego that are designed to keep us safe. But our souls are not designed to keep us safe. On the contrary, our souls are designed for us to grow and evolve and to expand.
Yeah.
And we all know that, growth don't occur in our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have
So
you have the free will, but here's the thing. If you go off your path too much, okay, then you're going to have to face the consequences of that, which is probably going to be some sort of illness, depression, everything that you went through. It's going to hit you. It's going to hit you in the face. And what I say, smack you in the butt. So it's happened to me. I know that if I went off my path and I was working the wrong job and I got my appendix burst, you want to talk about power leaking out of my solar plexus? There you go. So I'm not stupid. So, 17 years ago, I was like, well, universe, and I do believe in creator, a higher power. I don't call it God because there's what people's definitions of God is kind of different than what I think the creator is. But I say,
totally agree.
Yeah, so creator or higher power says, I'm not supposed to be doing this job, even though I've got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree and years of experience. I'm not supposed to be doing this. So I said, okay,
Exactly.
universe, I'm not doing this anymore, but I don't know what I'm doing. So I didn't want to jump into another job that I hated or was bad for me. So I said, well, I guess, I just got married. And I was like, well, I guess I want to have a family, so I'll focus on that. And then I'll figure it out,
Yeah.
And I didn't figure it out till I was about 40. So, but I always had that feeling I was supposed to do something. There's something I'm supposed to be doing. And it's supposed to, it's supposed to be big. It's not supposed to be small.
Exactly. And that's the soul, talking to you in various ways. And I do, in my line of work, I also do like karma clearings, which is like a reset, a restart of your energetic system, because your soul, even though that we have so many unconscious programs running in our bodies, that's why we choose this poor job, or that's why we don't think that we're good enough, or that's why we end up in this dysfunctional relationship, or that's why we don't have money, or whatever. That's why we don't have our health. But so even though that we are run by these unconscious programs, but the soul knows, it just knows. And it's the soul, exactly as you described. You just know. It's beyond words, it's beyond logic, beyond something that you can describe. You just know that this is my truth and this is bullshit or whatever. And I felt this that is going on globally today. I felt it long before it happened, and I was like, oh no, that's not my truth.
It was like a nagging feeling. It was more than knowing. It was like, there's something, keep looking till you find it. Keep searching till you find it, till you figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when I did my own karma clearing, I realized why as we've been talking about, why I had such a low consciousness, why I was depressed, why I was suicidal, because I had made so many negative choices that were not aligned with who I was at the soul level.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I found out that I'm from another, solar galaxy from the beginning, in my origination, long before I came down here to this planet in this meat suit, like my body is. This amazing body, because it's our bodies that are the temple that contains the soul, right? So they're the vessel. So it's also important how you treat your body, whether it's with your mindset or with your emotions or whatever. But then it made so much sense to me when I did my karma clearing, like I truly had to go through everything that I was through to be able to sit here and do what I do right now in my line of work or in this talk that I'm having with you, because I cannot sit here and only be mental about it or only have read things. It's what I call like a mental sort of spirituality, and that's big, like bypass from what spirituality truly is.
Mm-hmm.
You are breathing, and as I said, the breath is andetag, and it's connecting with the spirit, and you are breathing through the body. So everything that is divine and sacred, you need to experience through the body. But it made so much sense as I had made so many choices, because now it's not only a knowledge that I have, it's a wisdom, like an acquired wisdom that I have received from my own healing journey. So I can transmit this. I can send out these energies to the collective consciousness. I can talk about it, and I can also guide others through it.
I think we are on the same mission.
I know we are. It's
Well,
coincidence sitting here.
we're coming up on an hour, so I wanted to thank you for coming on and sharing your story, and that no matter how low it gets and how bad it gets, there are ways to get out of it and to heal it. And I highly recommend people seek you out or seek me out if you need help. And where can listeners find you and get your books?
So thank you. They can find me on my website. It is not updated, but it's up and running, and you can have you can connect with me there. So it's www.ulliskarlsson.com. So it's ulliskarlsson.com. And my books, if you want them signed, they're with me, or you can order them all at amazon.com.
Okay, great. And all these details will be in the notes, of course, if people want to look you up. And I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the show and telling your story. And I wish you well. And if you need anything, need any help from me or anything, come and reach out to me, because we're obviously on the same mission and aware of the same mission on the planet.
Thank you so much, and the same to you. And also thank you for listening. And I just want to end by saying, when I was suicidal, I listened to Oprah Winfrey, and there was this guest one day that said something. I can't remember who it was, and I can't remember what was said, but that thing that was said didn't make me to commit suicide at that time, at that day.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's only one word or one sentence that I say that resonates with you, then I have paid back my karma and the circle is closed.
Yes.
And perhaps if you find yourself in a dark place and feel that you're depressed, you can also think of it as a deep rest for body, mind, and soul, and that you are growing into something more, a better version of yourself.
Great. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me.